have done it.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the instant match reaction to that absolutely pathetic performance, not just by the players, but by our manager, who is getting it off me royally today. If you're a happy clapper, go and clap your hands together somewhere, make yourself a sandwich and sing "We Love Eddie Howe Forever," because he cost us that game today and he deserves to take all of the blame for it as well. I'm going to give it to him in a minute. I'm sure you will in the comments as well. If you're checking us out for the first time, remember to smash that button, like and subscribe. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 12,000. I think we're only 100 away, I think. So smash the button, guys. Help us get there. And you might have noticed below as well, you're all shouting for merch in the last few episodes. I don't know if Mark's put it in there, but we have actually got some Evermore merch out there as well. And no, there is not How Out t-shirts, before you ask. Another couple of performances like that, we might have to stick them on the bloody shop. But the merch is down there, guys, so smash that and have a little look and see if you fancy a little bit of cheeky Evermore stuff. Helps the channel grow and all that kind of stuff as well. And I've got something else to ask towards the end of this as well. But let's get into the problems. This is how we lined up today, right? And before I even break this down, before I even get into this lineup, right, everyone could have called this lineup. Every single Newcastle fan could have predicted this lineup. This manager has become so predictable that a wanker behind a microphone like me can call that lineup. So what can a professional manager do? What can a professional opposition manager do? If we can call his lineup and we know how he's going to line up, he's not refreshing the players. He's not rotating the players from Champions League performances. He's just picking the same lads every single game. And it's showing as well because they look dead on their feet. We'll get into the game itself. So that was the team that he lined up. No surprise to anybody, really, that that's who he was going to pick. And weirdly enough, I thought we started all right. We were a bit further up the pitch. Voltemar looked a bit further up the pitch. The press looked like it was kind of back to an extent. We were trying to get into Brentford's face and all that, but they had more energy from the off. They had more drive. They had more determination. They had everything that you could possibly imagine from a team that was trying to win the game. We were kind of trying to contain them quite well. There was a lot of physical challenges going on. Joe Linton was in a few as well. Joe Linton as well should have went off way before we did. He gets a clatter on the shin. He's down holding his leg. He should have come off almost instantaneously. This is like copy and paste for Sven Botman yet again. You know, this lad's playing through injuries and probably making himself worse and worse and worse. I'm just trying to see when Joe Linton actually came off, to be fair. When did he come off? So he came off on 24 minutes. Yeah, and we scored on 27. Yeah, so Joe Linton finally comes off for Jacob Ramsey. And then our only real attack of the first half is a brilliant finish by Harvey Barnes, who has looked sharper and looked a bit more hungry, a bit more dangerous in recent weeks. And the ball comes over. It's a nice bit of play. I think Ramsey's involved in it as well. It comes over. It's a lovely little flick around the corner from Big Nick. And brilliant play from Barnes. He kind of shifts one way, shifts the other, tucks it back inside, drills it into the back of the goal. And it's an excellent finish from Harvey Barnes. And you know what's coming. You're thinking, all right, brilliant, we're a goal in front. But this is just what Eddie Howe's Newcastle United is right now. Rather than going, right, fuck it, let's go for them. Let's get into them. We sit off again and again and again, and we just invite pressure after pressure after pressure. Nick Pope's making a few good saves. Malik Chow, who's probably, for me, the only player who leaves this game with any kind of credibility today, making some great challenges again, keeping the score line down. But Newcastle just inviting pressure over and over and over again. The warning signs of Burn getting caught out were there as well, with Atara running at them, you know, and you're thinking this is not good at all. You could easily make some changes. Murphy was looking shady, you know. Burn was obviously a liability. He shouldn't have even started the game, in my opinion, at left back. And the halftime comes and there's no substitutions either whatsoever. You know, Brentford have got themselves straight back into it more or less after the kickoff. You know, Kevin Schade equalizes for them. He gets the goal. And then Newcastle just completely fall to pieces. We're losing the ball. We're making bad decisions. We're rushing passes. Dan Burn is getting absolutely tortured from Atara. He's just running at him time after time after time yet again. And you're thinking to yourself, what the hell is going on here? What the hell is going on? Why is he not making a change? Lewis Hall, the best left back arguably in the country, right, is on the bench. He come on midweek and he looked like he'd never been away. He was sharp, he was bright, he was dangerous, not just defensively, going forward as well. And we're just watching Dan Burn getting tortured time after time after time again. He gets a yellow card. He gets really lucky, in my opinion. the guy comes through. I think it's Atara comes through, and Dan Burn catches him. For me, that's a penalty, right? And it goes to VAR, and I'm thinking, you've got a yellow card, you're off, Burn, right? And even that wasn't a big enough scare for Eddie Howe and Tyndall to do something about this at all. They didn't even. The pair of them are standing on the sideline, looking completely fucking lost. They didn't know where to park that car. That's what they look like they're in the Metro Centre looking for what fucking car park they parked in. It was unbelievable. We get away with the VAR decision, which I actually think for Brentford were really unfairly treated, because that was a penalty for me. Burn should have been sent off then. And then he didn't make the decision. And then it's almost copy and paste shortly after it. They're through again on goal. And this time Burn does catch him. And it's a second yellow card and it's a red card. And every single fan saw it coming. Even Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles would have seen that coming. But not these two on the sideline. No, Eddie Howe lives in this weird world that he thinks that if a player's playing shit, he's going to somehow miraculously just come out of it. Like he went to Hogwarts and waves a magic wand and go, good formio, and he just suddenly comes back into the game. You could see Burn was struggling. He's knackered, he's fatigued, and he's not a fucking left back either. Your left back is fitting on the bench. Grow some balls, Eddie Howe, and make the decision, and he doesn't do it at all. And the game's pretty much gone from us there. We're 2-1 down, I think we had a couple of chances after that, after the red card. Hall does come on, looks absolutely brilliant yet again. He's got the ball, he's up and down the line, he's putting crosses in the box. We had a couple of chances, but then they break on us when we're chasing it. We're a man down, and then they just smack it in the back of the net, for Thiago to get the goal after he scored the pen. And it's 3-1 to Brentford, and Newcastle absolutely deserved fuck all from this game. We were terrible. And the biggest reason we were terrible, in my opinion, is the manager. The manager has not rotated the team. He's too predictable with his tactics. His substitutions are shocking. Let's talk about them substitutions as well, by the way. Oh my God, right? Anthony Elanga, 55 million quid. The kid can't control a fucking football. I'm watching him. I've played with pub team players with better touches than this prick. 55 million quid he cost. And he's he's too scared to beat the man. Trippier was bollocking at one point because he gave the ball to Trippier, and then he didn't go. And Trippier's going, fucking go. He's supposed to be the fastest player in the league. That looks like money down the pan. And what is the point of Joe Willock? Honestly, Lewis Miley come on right towards the end for Bruno Guimaraes. He was dead on his feet and all. And I'm looking going, why didn't Miley come on before that to at least just calm it down and get a hold of the ball and control the ball? Tonali was bad as well today, way off his levels as well, especially after that conversation about, being interested in bigger clubs and all that. As his head fell off, is Tonali starting to get pissed off? We're sitting, 14th, 15th in the league. We look awful. Sunderland look way ahead of us. They'll smash us in that derby, and see some comments already coming in about that. Sunderland will absolutely annihilate us in that derby if we don't pick up our form and quick. But this manager has to grow some serious fucking balls and make a decision. Nick Pope got injured and all. He should have took him off before he did. He didn't do that. Ramsdale comes on. I feel a bit sorry for Ramsdale. Nothing he could do about the penalty. Nothing he could do about the last goal. It's a terrible error from Sven Botman. I don't know what the fucking hell he was playing at. But the players just look like they're completely lost. They don't know what to do. And there's nothing from the sideline. There's complacency, I think, sneaking into this team as well. They play no matter what. No matter how shit they play the next game. Gordon, been terrible in the Premier League, plays every week. Burn isn't a left back, gets rinsed, plays every week. It's unbelievable. It's only when injury happens that he actually makes a change. Look at Malik Chow and Sven Botman as a centre-back pairing. If nothing had happened to Fabian Schär or Dan Burn, he wouldn't have made that change. Or if Dan Burn had to move out to left back, he probably wouldn't have made that change either. And he's only making changes when they're forced upon him. Now he's got a situation where Pope is probably going to be injured, because we know what Nick Pope's like. When he gets an injury, he's out for God knows how long. Ramsdale may come in between the sticks, which I think may be better for the whole team. And then Dan Burns obviously suspended now. Is it 3-game ban or is it a 1-game ban? I think it's a 3-game ban. He'll be suspended, so Lewis Hall will have to come back in. But after the international break, when Timo Livramento and Lewis Hall are fit and ready to go, you've got to put them both back in. We need that pace. We need that energy. Trippier wasn't that bad today, but there was times slack passing. He got caught out as well. And, there's too many 30-odd-year-olds in our team, way too many. We're getting run over the top of by players who aren't as good as they are or they were, but they have more legs and more energy and more intensity, and we just cannot do it. We cannot compete with players like that for 90 minutes, 90 plus minutes. It felt like 2 hours a day. I mean, Brentford should have beat us 4 or 5-1 there, and it would have been fully deserved to them. Massive credit to Brentford. They absolutely battered us. And, I was worried about them being relegation fodder at the start of the season. Maybe we're fucking relegation fodder if we don't pull our fingers out of our arses and do something better. Let's have a look at some of your comments, guys. I'll breathe to try and regain me thoughts. Al Grant saying, what an absolute shit show, 100%. Roger says, Burn should have been subbed well before the second yellow. That was debatable. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. Liam says, we can't blame extra games why we're struggling. 100%. We'll blame the fact we're not rotating the squad, and that falls on the manager's desk. Santos saying, I don't understand how Howe was unable to do the basics as a manager. I think he's been found out, mate, massively. And Jay says, that was 100% on Howe. I totally agree with that. But the media will go soft on him because the media love him. They're sweet on him. And he's a very articulate, intelligent, charming man. There's no doubt about that. If I was sitting having an interview with Eddie Howe, I'd probably go, what a great fella, right? But he's lost something. He's lost something in this job. The intensity of the team's gone. The ability to rotate is gone. Loads of these players, his trusted favourite players, are 3 and 4 years older, and it shows. It shows in the Premier League, let alone Champions League midweek and Premier League at the weekend. You can't play age and 30-year-old legs week in, week out, game after game after game. When you've got 20-odd-year-old lads on the bench, they are going to burn out, and they are burning out right now. Marcus is saying the media better ask Eddie all these tough questions. They won't, because I've just said that as a post-game presser. It's time for him to be accountable. No more excuses. 100%, Marcus. All these happy clappers that start giving you shit, right? And there'll be some in the comments tonight as well, I guarantee you. You have an absolute right as a fan to ask questions about the manager as to why he's not making better in-game decisions than he is. He's making no in-game decisions. And like I say, what is the point of a Joe Willett coming on in a game like that? He offers fuck all. Joe Willett can't pass, shoot, or tackle. I watched him today. He was abysmal. You could have brought me on and I would have looked just as good as he did, apart from the fact you would have been able to see me kite more because I'm a fat bastard compared to Joe Willock. But I probably would have moved fucking better than he did because they were just awful. The impact subs offer nothing. Those players have lost a little bit of something as well. You can blame the manager, which I'm bloody well going to, but them players need to sort themselves out as well. If they can't get up for the Premier League games down at Brentford and West Ham, but who can show up in the Champions League because they think they're Billy Big Bollocks, then they need to sort themselves out because that's out of order. There's no point. We don't play in the Champions League. We play in the Premier League. And if you guys don't sort your shit out, there'll be no European football next season. And all of these players who think they're class and think they should be playing the Champions League season after season will just fucking scurry away like rats desert a sinking ship. And all this loyalty Howe's shown them, they'll scurry away to other teams that are in Champions League. Even fucking people like Burn, because he's in the England squad now, he'll scurry away to a team that he thinks he'll get a game for. The difference is he probably wouldn't get a game for them. No disrespect to Dan Burn. He ain't getting in the Chelsea team. He ain't getting in the Arsenal team. He ain't getting in the City team. He ain't getting in the Spurs team probably either. You know, he ain't getting any other Champions League English teams, I'm sorry, than Newcastle United right now. And that is the truth. So, AH is saying, I've said this for weeks now. How is it when we're watching? We can tell you exactly what's going on. Absolutely. It happened next night and prevent it, but Eddie doesn't do it. Shocking. Just dreadful, mate. Keith saying, what a shit show of management. It really, really was. It really, really was. My mate Andy, good to see you, brother. Hope you're well. Was I wearing number 33 today? I'd have played better, mate. At least if I got a red card, I would have nailed the kid and took him out of the game. But yeah, he says, yeah, watching the videos and we'll have to catch up for a pint before one of us dies. I'm going to die of a fucking heart attack, I think, if I have to keep watching that shit, mate, honestly. Another one from George and how flushed first 3 points, then 1 point directly down the shit there this afternoon. 100%, George. Red Light is saying, Burn not swap for Hall is a sackable offence. We get skinned every game. Absolutely, mate. I totally and utterly agree. The comment there from Aaron, I must be turning religious. I've called Jesus' name so much the last 2 Sundays. What the actual fuck was that? 100%. There's How at Fault again, says Terry. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with any of that. V for Vendetta, can you do a poll on Howell's future? It would be interesting to see the results. Mark might do it behind the scenes, mate. I'm busy ranting. So Mark may do a poll. But I think a lot of fans might turn now. I think a lot of that goodwill is starting to evaporate, completely evaporate, eviscerate for Eddie Howe at the minute. Again, Howe's game management is appalling. Absolutely, totally agree with that. Stephen saying, we were warned about this by Bournemouth fans, his loyalty and his favourites. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. But then you were slapped down for being too negative and, trust the process and all that shit. Remember all that noise? Yeah, this is looking really, really bad. David Hughes saying, sorry, but it's time to say goodbye to Eddie Howe. He's taken us as far as he can go. I just wonder who we would go for if that decision was to be made, if Howe was to be flicked tomorrow and gone tomorrow. And listen, modern day football is ruthless, right? Eddie Howe could have been flicked even if he hadn't got even if he got better results, because that's what modern day football is like. But he's really struggling at the moment, and he's under pressure. Make no mistake about it. Don't believe any of this horse shit. People tell you that he's absolutely under no pressure. He is under pressure. There ain't no doubt about that at all. I just wonder who would come in. Pochettino's making noises about coming back to the Premier League. Would he be a good manager? Could you get Nagelsmann out of the Germany job? I don't know. Jose's probably done now, really. But I'm not saying get rid of Howe. I'm not there yet. But I tell you something, I'm getting as close as I've been probably in the last 4 years. I really, really am, because I'm absolutely sick to the back teeth of this shit. Predictable shit. It's like Groundhog Day. Bill Murray might as well be the fucking manager, because it's like Groundhog Day. Phil saying 100% on Eddie Howe. That I'm sorry, but if the club act now, it's all on him. Yeah, mate. If he got binned tonight, it would be all his own doing. All his own doing. It really, really would. Loyalty to players. Sentimentality over sense. He would have absolutely nobody to blame but himself. Next game is going to be City. We're going to be bottom 3. Yeah, I think City will absolutely annihilate us. Jan says, I blame Eddie for this. Yeah, I think a lot of people blame Eddie for this. I certainly do. Mark says he's bricking it against the Mackems. I think Mackems will turn us over, mate, 100%. 100%. I watched them tonight against Arsenal. Thought they were brilliant. Anonymous saying so many players just aren't cutting it. And he's not dropping them, Anonymous. That's the problem. He's not dropping them. He plays in week out, man. No matter how bad they play. I don't get that. Chevelle says Burn has 1 game ban, I think, but Newcastle should appeal it and make it 3. That's the comment of the night so far. I love it. Iriola or Terzic or Glasner, says Pedro Stroke. He's had enough of Eddie Howe. Anthony says blind loyalty will cost Eddie his job. I've been saying that for years, mate. Years. David said no rotation, no game management. I'm off the fence now. I think a lot of people are off the fence. Absolutely. George also says big red warning lights and klaxons going off in Howe's face, and he does fuck all. Absolutely. The third goal is on Botman. Botman was shocking with that decision. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Again, Roger saying new CEO sharpening his axe. He's shown it with Becky, hasn't he? So Eddie should be fucking concerned. I would be. Roy Bryant said, always been Howe in, but I'm quickly losing patience with Eddie Howe and now leaning towards the Eddie Howe out. Ooh. Mark does say there's a poll in the chat. Give us your thoughts, Mark, and let us know about the result of that poll before we finish. But honest to God, that for me, I just could not get my head around what he was thinking, why he wasn't reacting, why he wasn't doing anything. Players were dead on their feet, were misplacing passes. Even Tonali was poor today, as I say, who's normally a constant. Dan Burn was getting absolutely tortured. I don't even blame Dan Burn for that tonight. I don't. I'm not going to have a go at Dan Burn. Dan Burn is a top lad and a great professional, and he works as hard as he can and gives everything for this football club. But he was absolutely getting ripped to pieces tonight. And that's where your manager has to protect you. If a young lad broke into the team, 17, 18-year-old, and he was getting tortured, you'd hook him to protect him, right? He's very quick in protecting the young players, How? Because he doesn't want to expose them too soon, and everyone goes, oh, what a great manager, right? But he's exposing Dan Burn. He was exposing Sean Longstaff when he was off form as well. Bloody hell, 14th in the table. Thanks for pulling that up, Mark. Christ, you timed that well. Jesus Christ. But he's not protecting those players, old, aging players, getting done for pace. Look at Malik Chow tonight, right? Malik Chow in that back line, the only player with any real pace, right? And my God, how many times did he use it to come to the rescue to Newcastle United tonight, or this afternoon? That without his pace, that would have been a cricket score. I know the bloody matches were on Sky Sports Cricket at one point. Could have been a cricket score today. That's how shit we were. John Cook is saying, what utter garbage. Eddie has lost the plot. Clueless, reactionary nonsense. I've had too much to say. For a single comment, Eddie has to go. Do you know what? The first time, John, right, I've been watching Newcastle and Eddie Howe come on the screen, and I was actually enraged to see his face. And I said, you fucking clown. That's the kind of thing I used to say about Steve Bruce, about Alan Pardew, about Steve McLaren. You fucking clown, because that was on him. That was on Eddie Howe. And I really hope he does take full responsibility for not making decisions quick enough in that game. But he won't, because if he does that, it's almost a sign of weakness. And that's the problem. It really, really is. It's massively concerning. Agent Tech said, we have to remember Eddie's not on the pitch. You can see it's the players. I agree with that, Agent Tech. But he's got to make the decision to refresh that squad, to keep the players not just interested, but, you know, impactful in games, keep the energy levels up, mix it up a little bit, and he doesn't do it. That's the problem. That is on him, Agent Tech. He's playing the same lads Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday. He's playing the same lads, and most of them are in their 30s. They cannot keep up with that standard of football twice a week. He's got a big enough squad, the biggest squad he's ever had in 4 years. He's had loads of quality added to it, and he's not done anything about it. Yes, we've lost Isaac, who was arguably one of our best players, and that showed as well. We've lost that X factor. How many times did we rely on that guy's individual brilliance to pull us out of shit last season? He may not have worked hard enough, but when the moment come to do something, wow, bang, there he was. And we haven't got that either. Big Nick today, struggling, things not sticking to him, balls bouncing off of him. That was a concern. But once again, he's dropping too deep. He's not far up enough. They're not getting beyond him. The one time they did was when we scored the goal. And, you know, these are tactics that the manager has to implement. He has to do that. We can't give Eddie Howe a free pass. We really, really can't. And I'm certainly not going to give him a free pass at all. She was saying any other manager would have sub burn off after the first disallowed pen. 100%, mate. Well said. Howe's man management is baffling. It's not existing, mate. He's a coward. He doesn't want to fall out with these players because he likes them individually and personally, right? And that's fine. That's great to be that way. But all of the elite managers make the tough calls. I've said it before. You listen to the class of 92 and they say, Ferguson used to say to them, you're not playing on Saturday. I need you for Galatasaray. That's your game. And then they'd be like, oh, why do I feel good that he's not playing us on Saturday? I shouldn't feel that way. And they all laugh about it. That's where Howe needs to sort his shit out. He needs to say to someone like Byrne, right, you know, the Champions League's your game, Dan, you're in for that. Lewis is playing the weekend, or vice versa. He just doesn't do anything. He picks the same team all the time. We do preview videos. I send Mark little screen grabs using lineup 11 to say who's going to play. I'm getting to the point now I don't even have to bother because we just know what he's going to do. Attacker number 2 saying this is generally as bad as it gets. End of day stuff. I don't disagree with that, mate. People, I think that's hyperbole, but I generally don't. If this shit continues, I think he's gone. I generally think he's gone before Christmas if this shit doesn't continue. This shit doesn't pick up. Ryan said he takes Barnes out, who was our only productive attacker, exactly, which makes no sense. The only player looked like he was a goal threat. Unlikely, but go big and go for Emery. I don't think Emery would come to us, mate. I don't think that would happen. But it's a shout. Vincent saying I'd take Glasner. I'd take Glasner as well. I'd take the boy from Brighton as well, to be fair. Phil says the fucking universe was screaming at how to get Byrne off. You still didn't listen to that, honestly. Thanos could have come down with the Infinity Stones and told him to fucking get Byrne off. He still wouldn't have done it. Leo saying Byrne was dead on his feet and was skinned like a rabbit. Yeah, that's a very good analogy, mate. Anonymous saying Waltermore's done fuck all in too many games now. Do you know what? He's looking really, really, what's the right word? Ineffective, isn't he? He's looking ineffective. Even these little flicks and tricks he's trying, it's just there's nobody around him. And you're thinking, oh, I don't want to put too much pressure on the Wisser thing, but I think when Wisser is fit and in the team, it would give us a different dynamic. I'm not going to turn on Nick Waltemore because I think he's come in and done really, really well. But, you know, he's limited in terms of what he can do in games. You know, if there's no space, you know, people are on him. He's tightly marked and he can't spin a player. He can't run him behind. That's not his game. So someone's got to go beyond him and do it. Gordon hasn't been doing it. Murphy's done it sporadically. Barnes done it once or twice. So if you're going to play with Nick Waltemore, which right now we have no choice to, you've got to get beyond him and the players aren't doing it. And that is a real concern, That's something the manager's got to address as well. That's on him. David saying Howe has left Byrne out to take the flak when Hall is ready, no excuses. It does look that way. I mean, Mark said to me before, come on, honestly, I nearly ripped his head off because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mark was saying, do you almost think he's left Byrne on to get sent off so he doesn't have to make the decision to drop them? And I said, if he has, he's a coward. I really hope he hasn't done that because that is a height of just unprofessionalism as a manager. I would blow my mind if that was the case. John saying, yes, Chris, I was the same. Eddie will always be a legend forever for winning the cup. Yes, absolutely. We'll never take that away from him, but I'm done now. He just never learns. Same mistake for 2 years now. Absolutely. Another shout from Daniel for Glasner or Areola. I think you could get both of those, but it depends if the board are looking to do it. I mean, there'll be a staunch defence for Eddie Howe from the journalists. And I like a lot of those guys. You know, I like Craig Hope. He's a top blog. I met him a few times. Really good guy. I like the Journey Journal lads. They'll come out and say, this isn't the time to turn on Howe. He's got to get it together. Maybe Liam won't, to be fair. I like Liam's rants. He's better than me, probably, I think, at times. But that, for me, is that's part of the problem as well. Eddie Howe doesn't seem to be accountable for these mistakes. And that fucking winds me up as well, because I want the press to ask the difficult questions and say, well, why didn't you take him off, Eddie? Why didn't you take him off? And maybe they will on this occasion. Maybe they will. Maybe that's starting to disappear as well. But I don't know. You know, the journalists do seem to love Eddie Howe. You know, Luke Edwards, as we speak right now, will be typing out a staunch defense of him on X and telling you all off for having an opinion about the manager, because that's what he does. Vince is saying, if we don't sign left back in January, I'll lose my nut. We should have done. We should have got a bloody manager. That's a left back. Sorry, in the summer. And we didn't. Graham says, Big Lick. Nick looks knackered. He does, me. Absolutely does. I'm knackered. And he said, Big Lick there. Big Lick. That's another channel altogether. We wouldn't be allowed to watch that. It wouldn't be allowed VPN. Right. So Stephen says, Miley withering on the vine and Anderson sold. That's on how young upcoming players go to shit at our place. You know what, Stephen? Well said, my friend. Well said. You're watching midfielders run through treacle. Joe Linton hasn't been able to fucking trap a bag of cement probably for the past, 5 months? And he starts every single week. I know he gets injured again today. That's not really his fault. He was getting around the pitch, to be fair to him, before he got injured. Miley is withering on the vine, as you say there. Withering on the vine. Anderson's looking brilliant. He's in the fucking England squad. He's going to go to the World Cup. He scored a penalty today. We'll let him disappear. And now we're letting Lewis Miley rot. You know, and even Jacob Ramsey's not getting game time. I know he's just come back from injury, but he's playing these players that he trusts and he loves, and he's got so much time for and respect for, and that's great. I like that. But sometimes they're not the right player for that game, and that's what squad rotation is all about, Eddie Howe, and he's not doing it, and that concerns me massively. It's always been his biggest weakness. Wow. One there from Chris Dill. Thanks for the super chat, buddy. Do you think Klopp would come in? Wow. I'm not sure that he would, because I think he's got that Liverpool affinity. I think the Saudis would need to chuck a bucket full of cash at him for him to actually do that. I don't think he would, but it's a hell of a shout, mate. And, as much as I called him turkey teeth, I'd love him if he was Newcastle manager, obviously. Marcus, remember, like and subscribe. This wonderful channel. Thank you very much, buddy. I always love the plugs. Droffy saying, where does Wissa fit into this team? Does that mean Voldemort dropped? Probably Droffy at the minute. But, I mean, again, it's different teams, If someone's got pace at the back, or they're playing a low block, maybe Wissa's not the guy for it. You might need Nick Voldemort to get the ball, spin a player, be creative with his feet. That's the whole point of using the tools in your arsenal, which Eddie Howe doesn't want to use at the minute. He just wants to use the same fucking tools all the time. That's the problem. Leo says, credit to Brentford, Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle, all defeated. And after the players they lost, 100%, mate. I mean, I tipped them to go down. I really, really did. But my word, they've been absolutely brilliant. Comment there, yes, from Acid came over from TTR. Subscribe. Thank you very much, pal. I haven't seen Paul's post-match yet, but I'm pretty sure he'll be as animated, if not more than me. He'll be absolutely raging at that performance, and rightly so, rightly so. Comment there from Robert saying, time for the boot, Eddie Howe. Oof, I'll tell you what it is. A comment there saying, Eddie's going nowhere now, says Time Tide. I think you're probably right, Time Tide. I think that he won't go anywhere. I think they will give him more time. But I'll tell you something, he's living a fucking charmed existence at the moment, mate. Absolutely. Comment there from Kevin. Don't want Clippity Clop. No way. I don't know, mate. I tell you. Paul saying, been patient long enough now, Chris. Howe has his favourite, simple, dreading the derby, 100%. Wow. Mark says the poll is currently 64%. Howe out. Woof. I tell you what. Ian says, credit the bank saves Eddie for another year. Absolute shit show of a season. Do you know what it is as well, Ian? This credit in the bank thing, right? Fucking winds me up, right? It's one of them sayings, isn't it? In football, it's become like the ick, as the kids say today. Credit in the bank, right? Not fucking mortgage we're going for here, right? Credit in the bank is one thing, but if you turn in shit performances week in, week out, or you're completely ineffective with your game management, then that's the problem. And you have to stand up and be accounted for that. That's what you got to do. All this credit in the bank nonsense can whistle, as far as I'm concerned. Ask Her 4 is a new member. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that. 170 PK. Local journalists rarely have the balls to criticize the manager. Easy access to him is largely dependent on playing nice. I do believe that is the case as well. I like a lot of the lads, though, the journalists, a lot of good guys as well. But I do get frustrated as a fan when he's not asked difficult questions. Like, I want to know, what were you doing with Lewis Miley's development? He plays really good games and you chuck him back in the freezer. And nobody asked him about that. They're too busy telling you how wonderful Joe Linton is, even though you watched him have a stinker for the past 6 months. Lou is saying, we don't demand a team that wins. We demand a team that tries. We ain't doing that either. That's a good point. Where's that? Let's have that in a war flag. We'll We've got LMSKN Liam. Never in 4 years has it looked like the players don't want to play for Howe. It's starting to now. Tonali saying he might be away in 2 years, etc. It doesn't look good now behind the scenes. I totally agree with that, Liam, to be honest with you, mate. That is a real concern. James Birch saying, to be honest, we were lucky to go in 1-0 up. I think you're right, mate. We could have easily been 2-1 down. Don't understand what he was doing at half-time. Yeah, absolutely not. Wow. Paul Frank says, last 17 games, 19 points. That is shocking. Shocking. And then you look at the stats of Barnes and Gordon, hadn't had a goal or an assist for 19 and 15 Premier League games. And we were turning our noses up at Jack Grealish in the summer for creativity, man, because Howe couldn't use him, or he's not a Howe player. Maybe he's a player we fucking need. We need somebody with a bit of creativity to do something, because we're shit at the minute. We've got no creativity. Lou is also saying, why is it we go 1-0 up and then turn to Dross? It's mad, this. Like, True Faith talk about this quite a lot. Alex at True Faith talks about this quite a lot. I've been on shows with him as well when he talks about it. This is a real problem for Newcastle United. Now, I don't know who on earth is responsible for this, if it's James Bunce with his performance management tactics or if it's Eddie Howe. But when we go 1-0 up, we just sit back and do nothing at all. We just sit back. We don't do anything at all. It's like having pigs and blanket at a buffet. You take one pig and blanket and sit down and just wait for everybody else to get in the line and, see how they're doing. And when you get there's no fucking pigs and blanket left, because everyone's eating them all, because everyone loves pigs and blanket, don't they? How's the bacon? Well, he loves it. But that's maybe a weird analogy, but that's the thing. Newcastle get a goal in ahead, and then we suddenly go, oh, we'll just manage this game. What? Like, we're 1-0 up in 20-odd minutes. You don't manage the game. You go for number 2, then you manage the game, score the second goal, then manage the game. This sitting back thing is absolutely ludicrous, and it's not working. This is the mad thing. If it was working for Newcastle, then you could understand why we were doing it. I mean, oh my God, New Zealand Bob has just hit the nail on the head there. Howe seemed to think Byrne is a better left back than Hall. Now, that may sound batshit crazy, right? But I think he's absolutely right. That's what worries me the most about Eddie Howe, is that I generally think he thinks Byrne is better in at left back than Lewis Hall. And if he does think that, then fucking hell, he might as well just go get another job somewhere else. I don't know, go manage a fucking logistics company or something like that. Christ almighty. Have Dan Byrne driving trucks. I mean, that's mental. If he does think that, but he needs to be asked that question. And he won't get asked that question. That's the concerning bit. Toon Gurus and Eddie's lost his bottle. I think he's lost more than the bottle, mate. I think he's lost plenty. He seems to have lost everything, in all fairness, just mental. Brian is saying it's all gone Pete Tong. It certainly has, Brian. No doubt about that at all. Stephen says, you stand in ceremony on pigs and blanket in our house and more fool you. Absolutely, mate. I was at a buffet once with one of my mates. He honestly, he was a head case. I don't speak to him anymore, to be fair. But we were at this, it was quite funny. We were at this, maybe cheer you all up from all the doom and gloom here. We were at an engagement party for this unbelievably attractive barmaid that we worked in the bar with. And we were even making a joke about the lads coming up with black armbands on because she was getting married, because we're all devastated. And he was in the buffet queue ahead of me. And he goes, they've got pigs and blanket. And I went, oh, save us some, mate. This motherfucker picked the whole bowl up and just went back to the table with it, with a pot of ketchup. I mean, that is awesome, to be fair. So I hope that changed you up a little bit from a whinging about Eddie Howe for a second. But we'll get back to Eddie Howe now. Chris is saying Eddie is gone. Sorry, yeah, it's certainly looking to be that way, isn't it? Oh, we got yeah, not wrong with that, says Mark. Absolutely. Super chat in from Western Mag. The fans plus the club must question Eddie Howe's decisions. Absolutely, mate. They do. They need to. They absolutely do need to. Post-match now, says Neil. Is this Eddie Howe talking now? Well, there we go. There we go. So, we've got one in for Robert. Stupid to want Eddie Howe out. I wouldn't say stupid, Robert. That's probably. I don't disagree with you fully. I think getting him out now is maybe a little bit too knee-jerky, because everything's been built up for Eddie Howe to be the manager of this football club. So getting rid of him kind of overnight would be really, really difficult, unless you got a proper elite manager in, which some of the names have been mentioned there, probably would be that. But he's running out of time, though, mate. If he doesn't sort his shit out soon, Eddie Howe is not indispensable. No football manager is indispensable. Look at Claudio Ranieri, dilly dong. Did the unimaginable with Leicester City, won in the Premier League, the Tinker Man. Everybody loved him, a little twinkle in his eye, binned by Leicester. binned for Brendan Rodgers, and that's the kind of thing that potentially could happen to Eddie Howe if he does not get a hold of this and get a hold of it quick. Hibbs has also said Anderson got man of the match for Forest most games. Well done, Howe. Yeah, I mean, that PSR thing for me, and everyone goes, oh, well, it wasn't Eddie Howe's fault, it was PSR and all that stuff. Eddie Howe had the final say on the player that got sold, right? And for me, you could have sold Longstaff, you could have sold Willock, you could have sold Almiron, you could have sold Wilson. All four of them players, you could have sold 3 of them 4, or 2 of them 4, and Minter, which I still wouldn't have sold, and kept Anderson, but he didn't. And that is a question that he needs to really be concerned about. I don't want Brendan Rodgers, says Leo. Do you know what the weird thing is? I actually rate Brendan Rodgers. I think he's a good manager. I'm not sure this job would be for him. I think it might be a bit too big for him, but I do rate Brendan Rodgers as a manager. I think he is a good manager. And he's I think he sometimes gets a little bit harshly judged. Well, Mark's got the comments, and this is from Eddie Howe. So Eddie Howe says, desperately disappointing result. It was always going to be a difficult game today. We dealt with the physical challenge really well in the first half, and then the goals came at a very bad time for us. It's disappointing performance and result. We have to take it on the chin. There's no excuse for it. Blah, blah, blah. Fucking yakety schmackety. It's the same bollocks he comes out with all the fucking time. Takes absolutely no responsibility for picking the wrong side, leaving players on too long, and making bad in-game decisions. Fucking ridiculous. Deep questions. The analysis will take place. It's going to be a long international break. We need to find a solution to the away form and stick together. What we got here? We still feel the love and support of the supporters. This group has the character to come back. Well, it may have the character to come back, Eddie, but you need to start getting the fucking legs in the side. There's more comments here. So he said, we're missing a few things. We will look at it in depth and try to find a passage. I mean, I'll give him his due. He blags very well. He's very articulate with his blag, isn't he? We can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Why are you picking the same team every fucking week then, mate? We haven't done that, but we need to keep tweaking. You're tweaking nothing, mate. You're not tweaking anything. You're picking the same fucking team. Tweaking things until we get it right. Yes, it does impact England, I think. Oh, probably talking about Nick Pope maybe with his injury, I'd imagine. But fuck me, honest to God. Just mental. If Kevin says you could have, easy. Who's pressing that? Kevin says if you could have one ex-manager, who would I have? Is that who would I have? Bobby Robson, mate, in a heartbeat. If I could have Bobby Robson back, I would absolutely have Bobby Robson back. 18, he says, you do keep doing the same things, Eddie. I thought you were talking about me there for a minute. I was like, whoa. Well, if they keep playing shit, I'm going to do the same thing. Western Magazine, same bullshit on script, yeah. People are going to stop buying into this shit. BS statement from Eddie, that for fuck's sake, says Tunga. I agree with this, guys. I'm not buying it either. They can fuck off, honestly. I'm not interested. I work in sales and I hear people talking that bullshit in sales, backpedaling about things where they don't work out. All these fucking buzzwords they throw out. Piss off. Not interested in it. Actions speak louder than words. Fucking mix it up. Change your team and get some fucking results. Change your tactics, mate. Stop pissing around instead of your articulate post-match fucking interviews. Kevin Muse is saying, definition of insanity is trying the same thing and get a different result. Absolutely. And Neil says he looks dejected. He does look dejected. He does. He's running out of ideas, man. He really, really is. Stephen saying journalists won't ask those questions that we have. Fuck's sake. Nah, you're right. They won't. There might be the odd couple that do, but there is this really, really kind of what's the word? Kind of discriminative bias and affection to Eddie Howe that I don't think I've ever known a manager have at Newcastle in my whole life, with the exception of maybe Kevin Keegan, because of what he did when he come in and where we were, where he took us. And listen, Eddie Howe has been a good manager for us. He's taken us from the bottom. The bottom, now we're here, as old Drake would say. He's took us from the bottom. He saved us from relegation. He got us the Champions League twice. He's won us a cup. So yes, all of that deserves praise and all that deserves respect. But you can't just stand still and clap in football. You have to move on. You have to evolve. And if a manager runs out of ideas, or a manager is not picking the right team, winning enough games to keep us in a position in the Premier League that we want to be in, then he's going to be in trouble. There's no doubt about that. And it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. As I've just said there about Claudio Ranieri, Claudio Ranieri won the league, won Leicester City the league, my God, and he still got peddled. So that for me should give everybody an insight into the whole thing with Eddie Howe, that what you've done in the past doesn't define your future. I'm sorry, it really doesn't, especially in a ruthless game like football. Everything's about the now. It really, really is. And if you don't like it, you shouldn't be in football. Leo's saying that was just missing a well, it did sound very Bruce-esque, didn't it? Colin says, no pace, no intensity, no idea. Very, very concerning. Liam says, do you think because how is England, the media love him? Same reason why Bruce was loved by the media? Possibly. I think he's loved by the local media because he does give them that access and that interaction, and I don't think previous managers had that. Certainly not Bruce. Kept falling out with every fucking journalist, didn't he? Urban Mexican says, why doesn't he play somebody closer to Walter Marder? Getting 0 out of any forwards. Do you know what it is? You're absolutely right, Urban. I was asked this question the other day, right? In pre-season, the young lad from Korea, Song Soo, looked like an absolute, X factor, unknown, dangerous player that could just do something out of nothing. And they threw him in the reserves. And our attacking lineup has been fucking diabolical. They couldn't cross the street, let alone crossing the box. Anthony Elanga, as I said, is just fast. That's all he is. He's just fast. He could run away from the police. He was nicking cars, but he can't control the ball. He's got no footballing brain. He can't pass it. He can't pick the right pass. He can't position himself correctly. Doesn't run at the fullback. And I'm thinking, I would rather have Song Soo on the bench than this fucking useless bastard. Yes, you've spent 55 million quid on him. He doesn't look the part and shit happens. I'd rather get this young lad on the bench. And at least he come on and do something. At least he can control the ball because Elanga sure as shit can't. Anthony's saying he's the architect of his own downfall at the moment. 100%, mate. Phil Foss's players chucked in the towel today and against West Ham. That's 2 weeks on the spin. Malcolm says, wish the Grand Prix would start. Maybe Elanga can run in that. He's fast enough. George said, this is the other side of forming a tight group of mates. The second that they're not good enough, you paint yourself into a corner and you can't drop them because you're a hostage to sentiment. Weak. It is weak. I mean, why is he not hooking Dan Burn? Does he think he's going to get kicked out of the group chat or something if Dan Burn gets taken off? I don't get it. I really, really don't. It drives me mad. Jay, I agree. Miley and Park need more minutes. You've got two exciting young players there who are very good footballers, and they're nowhere near this squad, and it's just mental, absolutely mental. Craig is saying it's looking like Teeny and Hall are. Is that fit? I don't know if that's fit, mate. Graham says Song Soo should have been on the bench. He totally agrees, Chris, absolutely. But again, where's the questions for that? He looked really good in pre-season, Eddie. Where is he? A comment there from, is it Geraint? I've got something in my eye. An eyelash. I'm blinking. I'm not winking at you, I swear. I've got something in my eye. Geraint says, remember Howe was never ever first choice. I mean, he wasn't, but he has definitely earned the right to say he's done a good job here with what he's achieved. So you've got to give him that. But yeah, I don't disagree with that one. What else we got here? Let's have a look. Ian says January window will be a disaster because who are you going to track to the relegation dogfight? Keeping Tonali would be like a new signing. I think, and I said this in the video about Tonali, I think Tonali said that with a purpose. I think that the kind of swathe of gratitude and everything else for standing by him in the ban and the support that he's had and all that stuff, I genuinely think that's kind of run out a little bit now with Tonali. You can call him a bastard or whatever, and it's not nice, but I think all footballers think about themselves and themselves only, and I said this when the Isaac thing happened. We need to get away from this thought process that players want to be at the club forever. If they're a local lad, maybe, like Lewis Miley, for example, if Newcastle were in a good position, might want to stay for his whole career, because he's a local lad. Elliot Anderson probably would have done the same thing if we hadn't cashed in on them and then sit back and watch him be better than any of our midfielders week in, week out. But yeah, I think Tonali said that with a purpose, absolutely. Dave's saying Tonali already got Romano doing his dirty work. Yeah, it's all a bit Groundhog Day, this, isn't it? It's all about seeing this before as well. Brian says, how many games have we really played well in this season? That's a good question, Brian. If I'm honest, I think possibly only about 3 or 4 if we're lucky. USG, but they were terrible. Liverpool, we played well at times. But I think that was on raw emotion because of what was going on with the Isaac thing. The Villa game, we did all right, but Villa were really off form as well, and you've got to caveat it with that. The Bradford game, but again, it's lower league opposition. So, yeah, maybe about 4 games. Yeah, and I think, sorry, Mark's just saying the Villa, unlucky, Benfica, USG, Liverpool. Yeah, I probably agree with that as well. Yeah, I mean, Benfica were poor as well, to be fair. Yeah, Villa, Barca, Liverpool, says Bern Thetrick there as well. Monty says, if we kept Anderson, Eddie wouldn't have played him anyway. You're absolutely right, mate. He would have played Joe Linton, wouldn't he, week in, week out? Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Phil says, we'll get bummed off everyone away. It doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, I mean, it is a real problem. And John says, you can't blame a world-class player for wanting to get away from this shit. Yeah, you can't blame him at all, mate. Absolutely not. There's my mate Wig134. I think Tonali's thinking this project ain't going anywhere. I got to fuck off soon. He's looking after himself. His agent will be in his ear saying, you know, these teams are interesting. Yeah, because Tonali could go and play for any of the biggest teams in the world, really. He really could. He's that good of a player. And I really wonder what's going to go on there. I think he's already starting to make moves. Phil said he'd absolutely take Mourinho right now. I don't know if Mourinho's doing too well at Benfica, is he, to be fair? Mourinho has that presence, doesn't he, in that aura, but I'm just not sure Mourinho would be able to get this side to where it needs to be. He'd probably play shit football, but might be effective, might win every week. But yeah, I'm not too sure if Jose could do the job. John saying Saudis need to get a handle of this project because it's stalling out. It is, mate. It's absolutely stalling out. And if you're a player now, if you're a really good player, look what happened in the summer. How many players knocked us back, right? Isaac leaving, you know, if they're thinking Tonali's unrest, because all these players talk to each other, you know, they've all got the same agents, you know, they're all at the same sponsorship meetings and all that stuff. You know, if they think this project's stalling, no new training ground, no new stadium, all that commercial team behind the scenes has been a disaster, an absolute disaster. So, yeah, a lot of these players maybe went, nah, I don't fancy that. It seems like it's going down the pan, that. Neil saying, I wish PF would get ruthless, show some grit. Yeah, I'm not sure they would. I don't even think that even that harsh half the time. It's just like an afterthought, isn't it? I mean, Howe has pulled them out of shit a lot. So, you know, I'll give him credit for that. But the PIF aren't as bothered about this as they are their other projects, probably because they can spend more on their other projects and get away with it. Sassman says, Howe just made excuses in his presser. As predicted in the press, lads let him off the hook. Yeah, it happens all the time, mate. Happens all the time, sadly. They would never have an interview with other content creators because we'd ask difficult questions. Even if you were, you know, respectful and played the right decorum, you would ask a difficult question. And I don't think they'd want to put them in front of that to answer. Pooley Mag says, Burn must have photos of how the compromising positions. That's the only thing I can think of. Or how it's thicker than butcher's mince. Yeah, it just, I don't know. It just, I don't even know what to say. I really don't. You know, he shouldn't have played, and he certainly should have been hooked way before the red card. Phil saying, pointless having press conferences, complete waste of time, or the pussyfooting questions. It is, you know, I've heard that said as well on the Toon Review numerous times, and Paul said that a lot, and I agree with it because there's just not enough difficult questions being asked, in my opinion. And again, I caveat, well, I like the journalist lads. I've met them before, but a pint with a few of them, you know, had a coffee with some of them. Top lads, nice lads, but they don't ask enough difficult questions. And Louise Taylor's just fucking off a different planet. Maybe 3i Atlas is coming to pick her up and take her back home. She's a fucking lunatic. Liam says, we'll be lucky to get Conference League unless the management changes. I don't think we'll get European football at all, mate. If we keep playing like this, we're nowhere near it. Absolutely nowhere near it. Haaland doing a Shearer celebration. It's a sign. The sign he'll break his fucking record if he stays in, mate. Absolutely. G. Marshall saying, if January can't see anyone coming in the way we're playing, no one will want to come to us. No, nobody, unless they're absolutely in the shit, and they're not the kind of players that'll better us anyway. Phil says, whether we like it or not, Tonali has the same standing as the Rat in that he's good enough and deserves a better team. You know, and that's the thing, right? And I'll never forgive Alexander Isak for his behaviour. I didn't have a problem with him wanting to move on. I really didn't. Because I understand it. He was arguably the third best centre forward on the planet, and a huge team came in for him. He wasn't given the contract he thought he was going to get here. I understand that. I didn't agree with the way he went around it and down tools and all that. And by the way, I was actually listening to one of the True Faith patrons, and there's a great interview with one of the lads from Brentford, the Brentford pod. He was a really good guy. And he talked about Wissa, and Wissa was very, very much the same as Isak, and that made me look at Wissa a little bit differently as well, to be honest with you. So all this talk about character and, you know, and the no dickhead policy, not entirely sure that's carries much weight anymore, to be fair, but, you know, it is a little bit concerning, to be brutally honest. What else we got here? Ooh, there was one star there. There's one star here. Acid says Alanga, the Newcastle Jordan. God, remember him? He was great at one point. What did that? He was absolutely shit. Oh God, Neil says Areola's 4-1 for Newcastle. Interesting. I think he's a very good manager, by the way. A very, very good manager. Yeah, it'd be interesting if the club do anything. Gav said, I'm on the fence with Howe, but it's getting so hard. Now, I'm kind of where you are, Gavin, to be honest with you, mate. I'm on the fence, but I'm really tipping on the edge of falling from the fence, because that's unforgivable and that's unacceptable. Every single week, it's the same shit. You know, he doesn't make substitutions quick enough. The substitutions barely impact the game. He picks the same team week in, week out, regardless of form, regardless of fatigue. All this bollocks that he said when he first came about, you know, if you earn the shirt and you keep the shirt and all that stuff. There's players there who are honking on form. They're terrible. Joe Linton's been awful all season. Anthony Gordon's been awful all season. You know, Dan Burn is not a left back. I repeat, Eddie Howe, he is not a left back. He's England's centre half. He's had the best 18 months of his career at centre half, and you're playing him at left back. He has no pace. He can't attack. He can't cause any issues further up the pitch. Lewis Hall comes on for 2 seconds, and you can see that's a proper left back right there. So this experiment with Dan Burn has to end, right? And have the balls to not play him unless you think he's better at centre half than Sven Botman, and I don't think he is. And I don't think many people think he is, and I hope that you don't think he is, Eddie Howe. But this is the issue. There's big calls. I said this about the game, you know, going into the Champions League game. You know, does he have the balls for the big calls? And he didn't do anything. He didn't change anything. And he hasn't changed anything this week either. And again, we're now dissecting this team completely failing and putting in awful performances by aging players who look fatigued, who look completely ineffective. And the manager is standing on the sidelines with his gob open, looking absolutely lost. And that is a real concern. And nobody will ask him a difficult question because of his standing at the club. And I respect everything that he's done, and he absolutely deserves the respect that he has for what he's achieved. But he's not doing the business at the minute in the Premier League, and he has to be asked why. And that disappoints me. Nobody does. George says, which 3 teams are worse than us right now? Whew, that is a difficult question. Like Wolves are worse than us. I would say, oh God, I thought West Ham were worse than us, but they fucking cooked us, didn't they, the other week? A really difficult question, isn't it? I mean, at the minute, Jesus Christ, I'd maybe say Wolves and Burnley, 2 at a push. Fulham, yeah, Mark says Fulham, which is probably a fair shout. The fixtures. Yeah, Ventus Media says our fixtures are awful in December. That could finish him. Let's just have a look at the fixtures actually before we shoot. It's still 500 of you on the chat, guys. Misery does love company, doesn't it? We do love a bit of drama. Remember to like, guys. Remember to like. Right. So we've got Spurs at home, which is normally a decent game for us in the past, and we've got Burnley at home as well on the 6th. So you'd likely be targeting 6 points for that. Certainly being at home. Leverkusen away in the Champions League is a tricky one. Then the derby on current form. I think Sunderland beat us comfortably. You've got Fulham in the Cup quarter final at home. Again, you'd fancy that. Chelsea at home on the 20th. Which again, depending on what Chelsea turns up, they can either be really good or really shit. Manchester United away on Boxing Day, that horrible fixture with no public transport. I feel sorry for anybody going to that. I don't think we get anything out of that. I think Man United look like they're kind of heading back to where they want to be. They weren't great against Spurs, neither were Spurs, but at Old Trafford, we normally got a shit record, so that would be a big concern. And then Burnley on the 30th away, and I'm not sure fancy is there either. So that is a real concern. And you're right, maybe that could finish him. And I hope he doesn't lose his job. I don't want him to lose his job. I like him as a manager, but he's not doing it at the minute. It's not good enough, and he needs to do something serious to change this round. He did it last time. I was on here talking about, has he taken the team as far as he could do? A lot of other people were as well. Some people didn't want to do it because they didn't want the hate in the chat and all that. But other content creators were. I know True Geordie was asking the same question as well. And anyhow, turned it around. He turned it around, and he got a hold of them players. He sorted Isak out. He sorted all the stuff out behind the scenes, and he got us back to where we needed to be. And credit to him for that. He's got to do it again. He's got to do it again, and even more so now than he ever did before. Benny Boy is saying, saw his post-game interview. He said he kept Burn on because of fucking hell, because of his height defending set pieces. Fuck that. Hall is 100 times better left back than Burn, regardless of height. What the fuck is that comment? Like, his height meant nothing. He was getting tortured on the ground. Like, that is the biggest pile of shit I've ever heard from Eddie Howe, and he should be massively disappointed in that shit again. That is absolutely abysmal by the manager. Absolutely abysmal. Terrible. Tierney is saying, I want him to lose his job. He hasn't shown that we're progressing at all. And he also says that West Ham should have led to the change, but it's more of the same. Ooh, it's hard to argue. It's very, very hard to argue. And yeah, John says he needs to go for comments like that. I mean, that is not going to do him any favors at all with people who are wanting to call his head. I'm not calling for his head yet. I'm not. I really am not. But I'm telling him he's very, very, very close to the trap door here. And if he doesn't sort his shit out, I think a decision will be made. And it'll have to be made, because if we drift so far away that there's no coming back, the ownership won't want that. And then the PIF will get interested. So George has got to go. Good to see you, George. Thanks, buddy. Who are the lads? Fuck me, we're shit. Aussie RT, let's buddy. It's absolutely amazing. I'll be wrapped up soon anyway, buddy. So thanks for sticking with us as long as you have. John is saying, yeah, that is a terrible comment. Demonstrates why I think it's time to get rid of it. It's a real concern. If he generally believes that is rancid by Eddie Howe. That is absolutely rancid by Eddie Howe. And, talking about this, I think my aftermath video, I'll record this tomorrow at some point. We'll get it up. And my question, I think, is really going to be, has Eddie Howe been found out? Has he been worked out? And does he have any other cards in the deck that he can play to change this? Or is it time for the club to genuinely start worrying about making a decision? Because I think that's where we are right now. I really, really do. I think that's where we are right now. And that's not being hyperbolic or hysterical or anything like that. That's just being real. And I think that's what it is. Simon says that Eddie's a lovely guy, but he's lost the ability to progress. We've been found out for months, if not years. Same shit, different week. See, it's hard to disagree with that. Coming from Simon. Again, that's a calm, rational, sensible comment by a concerned fan. Don't let any of these happy clappers slap you down and tell you that you're an arsehole for having a decision, having doubts about a manager or a player or anything like that. It's your God-given right as a football fan. I cannot stand these virtue signaling, white steed riding motherfuckers with the sword of righteousness swinging it at people who dare to question and dare to doubt. You're allowed to question or doubt anything in your life, least of all your football club. Fuck me. Of course you are. They're paid on performances. Players, managers, they have to perform. They have to achieve. And if they don't achieve or perform, you're damn right you can question them and ask whether they should be in the job or not. That's entirely your right. You'll never get that shit from me in these chats, whether I agree or disagree with you. You'll never get that from me. And I can't stand it when shit like that happens. It really pisses me off. Thank you, Marcus. Really appreciate that, buddy. Another one there from Golf and Geordie. Eddie's project has run its course. Roll the dice. Ooh. And Cy Robson says, if Eddie Howe was to lose his job in the morning, who do you replace him with? It's a question, Cy, isn't it? I mean, at the minute, Christ, you're looking at probably trying to get someone like Pochettino maybe out of USA. Would that work? Would Poch do a good job? Could you get someone like Nagelsmann out of the Germany job? These are the national manager jobs. They'll leave them for a decent club job. They will do. They'll walk away from them. They really, really will, regardless of the contract. And they can work something out as well, in terms of that. Did they try and get Glasner? Did they try and get Hurtler? Did they try and get Iriola, from their clubs respectively? That could be interesting. Derek says, I can see Mancini replacing him. He's a free agent. So we can speak to him. He's a good manager, very good manager. Was he over in Saudi not too long ago? I don't want to be having this decision yet, but I totally understand why you guys feel the need to talk about it, because that is an issue. Yeah, Diego Simeone's a great shout, Golfing, because I think he's kind of maybe run his course at Atletico. Terzic, says Anthony as well. Leo says Southgate and Big Ange did a new job. Yeah, well, they ain't getting one here, mate. They ain't getting one here. But yeah, it is a real concern, guys. And I think this kind of form under any other manager, people would be calling for his head, and people would be being way more hysterical than we're all being tonight. And I think, you know, because of what he's done at the club in his 4 years here. I mean, wasn't it his 4-year anniversary just the other day? Not a great way to celebrate, Eddie. 4 years for a football manager is very, very rare these days because people pull the trigger so quickly. But because of what he's done in the past, that's why he gets the respect. That's why he gets the credit in the bank, much I hate that saying. That's why he'll get a little bit more time. But if he doesn't turn this round, I think he could be gone by Christmas. I genuinely do. But let us know in the comments below, as always, guys, what you think. If you're watching this on repeat, yeah, really, really depressing tonight. Awful performance. You know, a lot to chew over in the international break. Me and Mark might jump on for a live next Monday, not tomorrow, next Monday. So make sure you check us out on that, guys. We'll maybe have a bit of an assessment of what the hell is going on and what the issues are. And remember to like and subscribe, as he just reminded me there. Help get us to the next milestone. Yes, we're hopefully closing on the 12K, and we will be there soon enough. And yeah, I'm sure we've got plenty to talk about. But anyhow, you need to get back to the drawing board, mate. Get this sorted, because this has to change. You need to change bodies, change tactics, and get back to where we used to be. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a cracking evening. All the best, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.